This is David Goldman, Asia Times Deputy Editor, speaking to you from New York City, the evening of August 26th. Well, the Federal Reserve is not in Jackson Hole because of COVID, but they're virtually conducting the Jackson Hole meeting, and the world is on edge to see how fast they might change U.S. monetary policy. Now, the great mystery of inflation is, why have we seen really spectacular increases in the biggest components of the consumer price index on the ground, but we haven't seen them reported in the official numbers? If you look at the chart of the day, you'll see that the Zillow rent index is up 9% year on year, but the shelter component of the consumer price index is only up 2% year on year, and that's really the part of the index on which the whole story hinges, because shelter is about 2/5 of the index, and as it goes, so goes the whole index. Well, there's a very simple explanation. The Bureau of Labor Statistics is measuring what you're paying today on a lease that might have been concluded a year or 2 years ago, whereas Zillow and other private indices tell us what people are paying for a new apartment lease signed today. So there's a lag. And if you go to Asia Times and look at our front page, you'll see more detail about this. But in a nutshell, it takes about a year for the impact of these enormous increases in rents, nearly 10% year on year, to show up in the consumer price index. So a simple calculation shows that by the middle of 2022, we're going to be seeing shelter inflation north of 5%, and that is well above the Fed's inflation threshold. The Fed can talk about inflation overshooting its target for a while to compensate for undershooting its target in the past, but when people are getting salary increases of 2 or 3% a year, and inflation in housing is going up 5% a year, and used cars at 25% a year, and most goods at similar rates, they're going to be in a really angry mood. And I could envision a year from now, refugees from our monetary institutions huddled at an airport in Washington, surrounded by angry mobs of renters with rescue flights coming in from Switzerland to take them off to Davos. Federal Reserve has a real dilemma, because if it tightens interest rates in the middle of a gigantic U.S. budget deficit, it'll make the deficit much harder to finance. But if it lets things continue to go, then we're going to have even more of the same and more popular outrage. One important feature of this, I believe, is that inflation will be the decisive political issue in November 2020, and it will give the Republicans a very strong opportunity to take back both houses of Congress from the Democrats. I'm David Goldman, Asia Times Deputy Editor, speaking to you from New York.